Okay. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Myself Ajay from automationjockey.com. In this video tutorial, we will be learning about Automation Anywhere system variables. But I want to share something with you. In a previous video, I showed you how to install Automation Anywhere 9 on a Windows 7 machine. But I got to know that Microsoft is ending its support for Windows 7 machine, so I shifted from Windows 7 to Windows 10. The installation process is the same for either Windows 7 or Windows 10, but still, if you want me to make one more video for demonstrating you how to install Automation Anywhere on a Windows 10 machine, you can leave a comment below. So let us begin with the understanding of system variables in Automation Anywhere. Hello friends, this is the task editor for Automation Anywhere client side. So on the right side you will have two particular windows, not a window actually, a tab, which is error view, and the second one is variable manager. So let me just go to the show system variables. Here you have date and time. In date and time you have many other options together, like you have variables which is for year, which will return year, month, day and date. Date actually will return you the complete format like dd, hours, minutes, seconds and milliseconds if you opt for. Here you can change the format. What happened to my mouse? Alright, here you can specify which format you want to have your date and time to be delivered to you by Automation Anywhere. Well, I will leave it as a default at this moment. You can change it as per your requirement in the project. The next thing you will have is hours, minutes, seconds and milliseconds. Milliseconds are basically used when you have multiple files coming up in just 1 second, but you need to identify which file came first and which file came afterwards. So at that time, this millisecond is very useful. Let me go to the loop. That will give you a better idea on how to use and which variable are connected with which loops. Alright, so let me open the loop command and scroll it here. Open show system variables. Alright, let me go with the first one, counter variable. Counter variable is same like for loop, where you have I which increment itself. The command would be like for I equal to 1, where I is less than equal to 10 for example, and I plus plus. That I represents the number of time it has iterated in a loop. Same way the counter in this Automation Anywhere system variable gives you that return, like how many times it has iterated itself in a loop, like 1 time, 2 times, 3 times in a loop. Alright, the second thing is the file name. Now you have a loop which is for example say each file in a folder, which you can see here, each file in a folder. I cannot highlight it at the same time, but you can see it here. Each file in a folder, but you don't know what would be the file name. At that time you can use this variable file name, but file also have extension to it, that is .txt, .pdf, .php. For that extension we have this variable called extension. Now the second is the folder name. Folder name is like each folder in a folder loop, which is below here. You can see each folder in a folder. Here, like you have a loop which goes through each folder in a folder, and you want to know which folder you are in. At that time you can use this variable called folder name. Also current directory. When you have a nested loop, like folder in a folder, also have a nested loop which also goes in a folder, like a multiple tree directory. At that time, at which position you are at, to identify that you can use this variable current directory. Extension, I just told you how to use that in a file name. Now we have dataset column. Dataset column is mostly used in SQL queries. Then we have table column. Table column is used when you extract table from the website. Alright. Then we have Excel column. Excel column is mostly used when you have multiple data set that you have extracted from the Excel in a range format, and when you want to identify which column or a row you are, at that time we use Excel column, error line number and error description. This is not in a loop actually, but it is basically in error handling. So when you have the error handling enabled in Automation Anywhere, and you want to identify to what was the error description and what line the error came, at that time you can use these two variables. File data column is mostly used during say reading a txt file or a csv file, comma separated values. XML node is mostly you're aware of what the XML nodes are. So each and every node and its value can be identified through XML nodes. Next we have Excel. See, Excel is a very vast thing. It cannot be covered in the same video. So I will be making separate video just for the Excel commands and how to use them, including the macros, which is very exciting stuff. So basically these are used in a Excel loop, not in a loop actually, but when you have multiple data set in the Excel, like a range you get from A1 to say Z100, and you want to identify which cell you are in, or which row or which column do you get to value from, at that time we use these variables. The next thing is email. Email system variables are pretty much used during email automation, like when you have to monitor a particular email ID for getting new emails. So at that time you can use these variables to fulfill your conditions, like from where it was sent, to whom it was sent, was it CC'd to someone, what was the subject line, and what is the message it has received. Here, when you do in a practical base, you will have two options. Either you can get email messages in HTML format or in a TXT format. You can choose either depending on the conditions and the environment you are in. Then at what date it was received, at what time it was received. Trigger variables. Trigger variables are mostly used when you have multiple triggers on a same task. For example, one task you have been calling, but you have two triggers for it, or maybe more. I give you example of two, like when a particular file has been modified, or a folder has been deleted or has been created. At that time, you don't know whether which trigger has initiated the task, right? So using this variable, you can log it somewhere, or you can store it in a database, or you can send an email stating that this task was triggered for this process. All right. Next we have a system variables. Now this is a system variable in a system variable, but it's a totally different concept. This system variable in a system variable is something like it will return you the machine name, the clipboard, but only the text data. If your clipboard contains any file, any image or a folder, Automation Anywhere will ignore it. It will only consider the text contained in your clipboard, not even images. Next is system. This will return you many options, like what is the path, what is the user domain, what is the processor architecture, whether it is Windows say 32-bit or 64-bit, what is the system root, and many other variables you can see here. Next you have application path. Now application path is where your Automation Anywhere tasks are stored. By default it is in my documents. Alright. The next is AA installation path. Now this is very useful when you have a distributed architecture, like I can say that bot creator or a task creator have different machine, and the person actually running the bots or a task are having a different machine, right? But depending on the OS, the path may differ, or the installation, the user might have selected a different path for the installation. So when you want to run or automation task using a batch file, or you want to call an exe of Automation Anywhere, at that time you can use AA installation paths. Then you have CPU usage, RAM usage, total RAM you have, what is the operating system that is been running. Like for instance, I can say that you have a particular path in a Windows server, but you have different path in a Windows normal machine like Windows 7 or Windows 10. At that time you can use this operating system names and identify which task or steps to call within the Automation Anywhere. Next, we have array rows and array columns. These are actually used when you create a variable type of array where you want to identify whether which row or which column value you want to have. At that time, you can easily use this array rows and array columns. So these are the system variables. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. It helps me motivate to create new tutorial videos for you. If you have any questions for me, you can leave it down in a comment and I will make sure to answer each and every one of you. Have a nice day.